The 6th of February 1952. Princess Elizabeth became Queen Elizabeth II as she perched in the branches of a tree. She was at Treetops Hotel in Kenya, peering intently at the wild animals enjoying the waterhole below, quite unaware that thousands of miles to the north, sometime in the early hours of a cold, dark morning, her father, King George VI, had died silently in his sleep of a thrombosis at his red brick and stone country house, Sandringham, in Norfolk. He had been found dead at 7:30 a.m. by his valet, James MacDonald, when he drew back the curtains and went to place the King's early morning tea tray by his bed. "Hyde Park Corner, last night. Go and tell the Prime Minister." At 8:45 a.m. in London, the voice of the King's private secretary came down the line to his assistant private secretary, Edward Ford, using a pre-arranged code for the death of the King. "I found old Winston in bed," Ford recalled, "about 9 in the morning. There was a scatter of papers all over the bed, a chewed cigar, and a green candle beside to relight it, because it was always going out. I said, 'I've got bad news, Prime Minister. The King died last night.' 'Bad?' said Winston. 'The worst.' And there was a sort of awful flurry and flop and papers going everywhere. He was preparing a speech on foreign affairs for the House of Commons, and he just threw away the papers. 'How unimportant these matters seem,' he said. 'Our chief is dead.'" The new young Queen had been in Kenya en route to an official tour of Australia and New Zealand. With typical British dottiness, the Hyde Park Corner message had never been sent to her. The telegraphist, thinking the message was the address, failed to forward it. When Martin Charteris, her private secretary, called on her at the Sagana Hotel, she knew nothing of her father's death, and nor did he. She was chatting excitedly about watching rhino at the waterhole at dawn. She'd been at Treetops the night before, actually, when he, the King, died, and she'd come back to Sagana Lodge, a wedding present from the Kenyan people. I made my number at Sagana Lodge and had a bit of a gossip. She told me about the rhinoceroses and all that sort of thing. She was looking wonderful in blue jeans. Off I went, and at lunch somebody told me that the King was dead. So I got into the car and went to Sagana Lodge as quickly as I could, where I found her, very composed, master of her fate. Churchill's private secretary, John, Jock Colville, arrived to find him sitting alone with tears in his eyes, looking straight in front of him.